Okay, so this is pronouns take two. I already recorded this whole thing, but my voice was cutting in and out, so we'll do it again. All right, so pronouns are used in place of nouns. So instead of the awkward sentence, Bill put Bill's book on the table, we say Bill put his book on the table. Now, the noun that the pronoun replaces, Bill, is known as the antecedent. You only need to know that in case I happen to mention it in future lectures or even further into this lecture. You need to know the antecedent is that word that is being replaced by the noun. And there has to be an antecedent. So pronoun reference errors where we're not sure what the pronoun is referring to, many times it's because there wasn't an antecedent that was clear, or there were two antecedents and we don't know which one the pronoun is pointing to. Now, for this lesson, we have subject pronouns, and as it common sense would tell you, those pronouns take the place of subjects in a sentence. There are object pronouns that take the place of objects. The three different objects are direct object, indirect object, and the object of the prepositional phrase. And there's possessive pronouns, which is, show possession of an object. All right, here are the different pronouns. I'll give you a second to kind of copy them. So the subject is I, you, he, she, it. Object is me, you, him, her, it. And the possessives are my, mine, your, yours, his, hers, hers, its. All right. You should be familiar with all of those. I want to make sure you're using them correctly. Make sure with the you, I'll mention this later in the lecture, that the your is the proper your. The possessive is Y-O-U-R, not Y-O-U apostrophe R-E. Okay. Plural pronouns. We, you, they for the subject, us, you, them for the object, our, ours, your, yours, their, theirs for the possessive. And again, with their here, just like with your, make sure you know the different theirs. Their possessive, that is their problem or their car, Their. They're over there, so they are They apostrophe re over there There, the location. Please, this is a pet peeve of mine. If we were in class, I'd be jumping up and down. I'd be writing this on the board. Also, I mean, if you send an email, you're in a professional environment, and you send an email to your boss and you misuse those words, your boss is going to think you aren't very well educated, and that's going to cause you problems. People don't think spelling matters, but my wife used to work at B of A, and she'd come home talking about how everyone was laughing about an email that the boss had sent to everybody that had, little mistakes like that in it. It undermines your authority. It undermines the confidence your supervisor may have in you. All right. So as I said, subject pronouns take the place of subject. In formal speech, it can follow the verb to be, or the conjugation of that verb, and it sounds weird. That is she singing with the chorus, right? That sounds like it's stated by some Harvard graduates wants to make sure you know he went to Harvard. So we normally, I mean, that's correct, and in academic writing, that's what you should do. But most of the time, what we use is the informal. That's her singing with the chorus. We're using the object pronoun, which we shouldn't do, but that's how most people speak. And in this case, this wouldn't cause you any problems in an essay for this class because the other just is too awkward. All right, now object pronouns. So I said the object of preposition phrases. So into the forest. Into is my preposition. Into the forest is my prepositional phrase. It finishes with forest, which is the noun that finishes that prepositional phrase. That noun forest is the object of my prepositional phrase. Direct objects are objects that receive the action of the sentence. So Jim kissed Sally. Kissed is my action. Jim is creating it, so he's my subject. Whoever or whatever creates the action is the subject. Sally is the one being kissed. She's receiving the kissing. If she receives the action of the sentence, she's the direct object. All right. Hopefully everyone's clear on that. Again, if we were in the classroom, we would have done an exercise on this. Jane bakes cookies. Jane's my subject. Cookies is my action, so it's my verb. Sorry, bakes is my action, so it's my verb. Let me start again because that's going to confuse you. Jane bakes cookies. Jane is doing the baking, so she's creating the action. She's my subject. Bakes is my action, so it's my verb. The cookies are what are being baked, uh, and so they are receiving the action. They're receiving the action of the verb, the baking, so they're the direct object. Now, an indirect object receives the direct object. So Jane gave cookies to Jim. All right, so the cookies are being given. They're being given by Jane. So Jane's my subject because she's creating the action, the giving. She's doing the giving. The cookies are what are being given. So they are receiving the action of the verb. They're being given. They're the direct object. Jim is the one who the cookies are being given to. So he's receiving the cookies, the direct object. So he's the indirect object. Again, if this is really confusing, send me an email. If enough of you send me emails, we'll do a Zoom meeting or something to go over this and where you can ask questions. So objects of prepositions, the award was given to Matthew. Choose my preposition. Matthew is the noun that finishes the prepositional phrase. And so to him, I use the object pronoun. Don't bump bump. So sent is my verb, right? That's the action of the sentence. Who's doing the sending? So it's my action is my verb. Who's doing the sending? Jimmy. Jimmy is sending whatever's being sent. So he's the subject because he's creating the action. What got sent? A wool sweater. So if the wool sweater is receiving the action, it's the one being sent. It's my direct object. Who got the wool sweater? The direct object. John. So he's my indirect object. All right. Whatever receives the action is the direct object. Whatever receives the direct object is the indirect object. So again, you would say Jimmy sent him a wool sweater. As long as John has already been mentioned somewhere and we know who John is. If we haven't seen John before, we can't use a pronoun. All right, possessive pronouns just show ownership. The cat scratched its neck. Be careful here. When I type fast, I put the wrong its. I put it apostrophe s. That is, it is. The apostrophe there is saying we took out a letter. The letter is I. Here, to show possession, it's its, no apostrophe. Now, this is probably one of the best rules I'm going to show you, one of the best tricks. It's not a rule. So when you have two subjects or two objects, so Barbara bought Kevin and I, or Barbara bought Kevin and me some cookies. When I do this in class, most people go with Kevin and I because they say that's the polite way to say it, which it would be. However, to know which pronoun to use, we break the sentence in two parts, or into two sentences. So we say Barbara bought Kevin some cookies, and then Barbara bought I some cookies. No, Barbara brought me some cookies. So you get rid of the Kevin and. You would say Barbara bought me some cookies. All right. This is one of the few times, well, maybe the only time I say you can go with what sounds correct. Sorry, most of the time in English you can't do that because like with that is she singing with the choir. That doesn't sound correct, but it is correct. All right, so to determine what you need, whether you need the subject or the object, you can just try the pronoun in the sentence by itself. So here, we or us citizens should vote. We citizens or us citizens. Take away citizens. We should vote in each election. Us should vote in each. Well, it's going to be we. All right, so hopefully that you understand that. That's one of the best tricks to be able to do this pronoun. All right, so which case you have to know if it's subject or the object. So again here, Johnny kissed Sally at the dance. Who's doing the kissing? John, so he's the subject. So we're going to replace that with the pronoun. We use the subject pronoun, which is he. Who got kissed? Sally. She's receiving the action, so she's the direct object. So we have to use her. He kissed her at the dance. And that's what you got to figure that out. But most of the time, and the other thing that you can do also, once you determine what the subject is or who the subject is, anything else you replace has got to be an object. You can only have one subject in a sentence. Even a compound subject, they go together. So John and Jim walked up the hill. Uh, that that's still one subject, just a compound. Okay. Troika test again. Remove the extra words. Joan and I or Joan and me. Joan and I went to the store or Joan and me. So Joan went to the store. I went to the store. Joan went to the store. Me went to the store. So it's got to be the first one, Joan and I. All right. Please get this down because uh, on the quiz, I think there's 4 out of the 10 sentences are like this. So if you figure this out, you've got 40% of the quiz done. Harry gave the gift to Joan and I, or Harry gave the gift to Joan and me. So a lot of times people will say Joan and I. But here, Harry gave the gift to Joan, Harry gave the gift to I. That doesn't make sense. Harry gave the gift to Joan, Harry gave the gift to me. So it's the second one here. Uh, get this down, and you should never have any problems with this again if you understand how this works. Break it into 2 sentences, and then see the pronoun by itself, see which one works. And a positive is just a word or a phrase that renames something. So Lloyd, my younger brother. My younger brother is in a positive that renames Lloyd. Or the mayor, Jim. Jim is renaming mayor. So us girls went to the concert. So we and us is renaming girls. Again, what we do is we take away uh, the girls, and we went to the concert or us went to the concert. Now, this next one is a little bit more complicated because you got to take away a few things. So the members, she and I, her and me, were late for the meeting. So take away members, you say she and I were late. I'm like, does that, if you still can't figure it out from that, then take away one of the pronouns and switch the verb, excuse me, to a singular program. So she was late for the meeting, her was late for the meeting, I was late for the meeting, me was late for the meeting. So it's got to be the members, she and I. President was angry with she and I or her and me. The president was angry with she. No. The president was angry with her. Yes. President was angry with I. No. The president was angry with me. So it's got to be her and me. You don't need to know which is subject and object in that one if you do. All right, so this is the other one. This will, if you go to cocktail parties when you get older, you can really irritate people by correcting whether they're saying who or whom correctly. So who and whoever are subject pronouns, whom and whomever are object. You test it by substituting. If he, she, or they works, then it's going to be who and or whoever. If him, her, them works, then whom and whomever is what should be used. So the Hemingway novel, For Whom the Bell Tolls, if you substitute for he the bell, that doesn't make sense. For him the bell tolls. Okay, so it's got to be whom. And again, for is a preposition, and whom is the pronoun that finishes that prepositional phrase. All right, that's it for this lecture. I know it's kind of long. There's a lot going on in it. Again, if you have troubles, email me. There are a couple of more. I normally would give one of them to you this week, but I think that's enough for a week to chew on with online. I'll give you the other ones later on in the semester.